I pushed all the chips in. There's no going back. Your wife just gave birth to a boy. There's no turning back. You don't push the kid back in. There's no option. This is it. On that poker table, and you got one chip left. Like, going all in. She was laying in her bed, bummed, discouraged, didn't know what to do, and she saw a video of a rocket being launched. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get out of bed. I looked up the average cost to rent out the Fox Theater. It's roughly $30,000 a night. And she turned $1 million. And that was just Atlanta. Coca Cola sold 9 bottles their first year. Walt Disney gets fired from having lack of creativity. J.K. Rowling, she got rejected 12 different times before someone picked up the book, and published it. Michael Jordan, we all know that story of getting cut in 7th grade. So all these different stories of people that created success, but every one of them was like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. We just finished a casual meeting with my marketing team, and I'm going to turn it into an episode that I want you guys to listen to. And we recapped on all of the episodes of the cycling trip from San Francisco all the way to the coast of North Carolina. But we also compared it to my business now, the scaling of my business, the growing, the grind, the difficulty, all of those things. And so as you listen to this episode, and I encourage you to do it because I believe there's some really impactful things that you'll be able to learn from this off the cuff talk that we all share with each other. But the importance of just giving it your all, the importance of pushing the poker chips all into the center of the table and not having a plan B. So get ready. I want you to go into this and know that when you watch this episode, you're going to walk out of it going, what are the ships that I'm going to burn? So this morning I was just thinking the parallel between the cycling trip and then business. When I was coming back from nationals and I'm driving back and I made that decision to ride my bicycle across the United States, there was something, I didn't consciously make this decision, but internally it was burn the ships, sail to the island and burn the ships. There was no option. I pushed it all in. And then fast forward to when I made the decision to create a legacy, to make an impact in the business, to make a difference, to grow and scale the company. That's exactly what happened as well. It was sitting across the table from a potential coach, and not that I made the conscious decision of I'm going to burn the ships, but that's what I did unconsciously, consciously, but unconsciously. I pushed all the chips in. It was there's no option. There's no going back. And so I feel like that there's that's the first thing that had to happen. There had to be a conscious or an unconscious decision to go, there's no turning back. The turning back is I'm 6 feet under. There is no, it's like your wife just gave birth to a boy. There's no turning back. You don't push the kid back in to get the girl out. It's there's no option. This is it. And so I was just thinking, that like that's really the start of the same pattern that happened with the cycling. As I've gone through business and I've made the decision, and when I made the decision, I was at roughly $1 million in revenue, and the next year I was at 2.7, and the next year I was at 3 point something, the next year I was at 4 point something, 5 point something. And although there's been some setbacks, but isn't that what happened on the cycling trip? And the setbacks warranted you quitting. Would have given you every reason to just, like, it's okay. Try something different. Every good, successful business person fails at something. It's easy to just use that as an excuse as well. Yeah, it didn't work out. I'm going for something else, going something bigger. The grass is greener on the other side. I'm going to create something bigger and newer. And so it truly has followed a very similar pattern. The times of like, what the hell am I doing? The times of, I want to quit. Like, how many times, I can't tell you how many times over the last 3 or 4 years I've asked myself, is this worth it? But I keep going back to, I want to create a legacy. That was the why. I want to do something bigger than me. I want to do something that makes an impact in my team's life, a positive impact in my team's life, a positive impact in my clients' lives, and just like the cycling trip, in the very beginning, it's like, I'm doing this. Here's my why. I believe that also with the legacy that I've chosen, that I've wanted to create with the remodeling company, I would have never thought 6 years ago, 7 years ago, when I was like, you know what, I'm burning the ships. I'm going along for the long haul. I would have never thought that this would morphed into, now I'm looking forward to putting all my time into marketing and digital media. And, I never wanted to be behind the camera, and something very similar that happened in the cycling trip was, I never would have thought my relationship with my dad would have been restored. I didn't go into it with that in mind. And so the doors that open, the things that become available when that wasn't necessarily what the intention was to begin with, but the evolution of, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. All chips are going in, and so I feel like, like looking back at it now, and as we talked earlier, I look at our team and I go, wow, we got a great team. Didn't start out that way. We had a lot of rough bumps, a lot of people we had to let go, a lot of moments where cash flow was tight and things weren't looking so good, where it's, yeah, is this worth it? And even right now, as we speak, with work has not been where I like it to be, not dwelling on where that outcome could go, dwelling on, let's shift, let's tweak, let's make some adjustments. The adjustments, as we spoke earlier, the adjustments come when times aren't so great, refine you, make you better. They don't come when things are going awesome. So anyhow, that's what I was thinking about this morning, just the parallel between the two worlds, the cycling and then going into business, or not going into business, but having that mindset of like, all right, let's go all in, go all in. And, I think something else that happened, I haven't even shared it with anybody. My big goal has been like $100 million company. Two opportunities have come on my plate this week. That one opportunity could potentially bring acquiring another company to bring into the fold that would immediately put 13 million on our revenue plate. And all I did was just ask a question like, hey, are you interested? And so just like we just heard with Anna earlier, I feel like when she's just gotten in that flow, in that vein, now she gets this opportunity to possibly go on below deck. It's like just getting yourself in that vein where opportunity comes. And I believe, backing up a little bit, where I believe where that starts is just having gratitude. Sure, I could have every reason in the world to think of all the negatives versus, wow, look at what opportunity we do have. Just went and looked at a $500,000 job yesterday. Wow, that's an amazing opportunity. Just had a conversation with a client yesterday, $150,000 job. Wow, that's awesome. Versus the alternative language, So anyhow, I think there's just something there that when you're flowing in that vein, when you're in that path, of just having that mindset of being unstoppable, having that mindset of like nothing can get in my way. And if something gets in your way, it's because you allow it, and it all starts here. It's all the head trash, and not to say that you're not going to have those times, you are, but you got two choices. You can entertain the head trash, or you could go, all right, I'm going to entertain that for about 10 seconds. Yep. Times are tough. Yep. This sucks. Yep. It's hard. Anything else? Your journey in getting to the ideal weight, you've got weeks of like, man, this is so freaking awesome. And you'll probably have more weeks of like, this is freaking tough. This is a grind. This sucks. I got on the scale today and I was expecting to lose 5 pounds and I was at 0.5. Like, what the heck? I thought I was doing so great this week. But you don't know what's going on internally. Like what's going on, that underlying current. From the surface, it's like, oh, but what's going on underneath, and I really believe that, that what we've got going on right now, it's, we're grinding it out. We're pushing, but there's something beautiful like that's getting built. I've heard the analogy of a tree grows in two directions, but it first starts in the dark. That seed is in the soil, it's dark, and there's so much happening underneath. And some plants, some trees, or whatever it may be, like takes years before you ever see any results. I've heard the saying, the first year it creeps, the second year it the first year it sleeps, the second year it creeps, the third year it leaps, you know. And if you think about that in business and our endeavors and it's just that first year, and probably more like the first 5 years, it sleeps. But it's just, you got to keep grinding it out. And then you start seeing some results, it starts to creep. And I heard Cody Sanchez say, when did it shift? And she was like, it literally shifted overnight, because it was all this underlying current going on, where it slept for so long, but she kept being persistent. And then it started creeping, fighting discouragement, fighting, is this ever going to turn around? And then all of a sudden, overnight, she became a success. Like, now everybody knows her. You see her all over the place. But the 5 to 8 years prior to that, the things we talked about a couple mornings ago, Coca Cola sold 9 bottles their first year. Well, thank God they didn't give up. I like a Coke every now and then, maybe more than every now and then. Walt Disney gets fired from having lack of creativity. What's her name? The author of Harry Potter. I forget her. What's it? J.K. Rowling. That's right. She got rejected 12 different times before someone picked up the book, and published it. Michael Jordan, we all know that story of getting cut in 7th grade, So all these different stories of people that created success, but every one of them had their moments where plenty of reason to give up, plenty of reason to look at their situation and go, I'm not worthy. I'm not capable. This isn't for me. But every one of them was like, I'm not going to take no for an answer. I'm not going to listen to your opinion. I'm not going to listen to you saying I'm not creative enough. I'm not worthy enough. How many lives has Michael Jordan inspired? A lot of the pro basketball players that are out there now, the Kobe Bryants, all of those guys, Michael Jordan was their idol. The inspiration of Harry Potter and those books, the inspiration of, so many different people, because they just chose not to give up. They chose to burn the ships. They chose to push all the chips in. And when times on that poker table and you got one chip left, like, going all in, and even if worst case scenario, you still got so much things going for you. You've got your life, got your breath, and you can start it again the next day. We've learned so much. I mean, just even let's think about this marketing team. It was a year ago. All we were doing was just posting some things on Facebook and Instagram. And we were posting like 3 times a week, and working our way up to 1 post a day. Remember that? And now the 2 of you guys now podcast. We're thinking about, maybe I shouldn't say robot. We're right. We're thinking about bleep. We're thinking about, bringing on, an AI generated or AI powered robot or whatever to create attention, to potentially plot a trail that nobody else is doing. I haven't seen anybody doing it in the remodeling business. How can we be the ones to be the go-to for our industry to make a difference? So that going on. We've been invited to be on Bradley's podcast. Who would have thought that a year ago? The preparation for a TED Talk. Now we've got the book. Chapter 1 is pretty much done. We're working on chapter 2 right now. We've got it all laid out. Look how far we've come in 1 year. What's it going to be next April, next May? That's going to be pretty cool to sit back and look at this and go, wow. I went to Mel Robbins conference last weekend, and 3 years prior to today, she was laying in her bed, bummed, discouraged, didn't know what to do, and she saw a video of a rocket being launched. And she was like, that's it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get out of bed. That's where it started 3 years ago. And look at her now. She went from the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method to the let them, and all of the things that unfolded with that, a relationship with her daughter that came about, the Let Them series, or the Let Them book, because her daughter got involved, and utilizing that system, to millions of followers, to being at the Grammys. 3 years prior, she was a nobody. But for her, all she did was go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I'm going to get out of bed. And that was the start. I'm just going to get out of bed. And she's got videos that she took of those times where she looked like a wreck, just discouraged, no makeup, no glam, no nothing, and would have never guessed that 3 years later, she was creating something bigger. I did some quick calculations. She's got this live tour going on right now with this Let Them, and the 2 nights of her renting out the Fox Theater in downtown Atlanta, sold out crowds both nights, 4,500 people. Average ticket price is about $100. So if you do the math, 4,500, that's 9,000 at $100. That's $1 million. Not including, just shy of $1 million, not including the t-shirt sales, the bag sales, the book sales, all of the things that when I went by the line to get those things, was like, man, that's crazy. And the cost, I looked up the average cost to rent out the Fox Theater. It's roughly $30,000 a night. So $60,000 to rent out, and all the stuff to go with it, supposedly. And I just Googled it. I could be totally off. The owner of the Fox Theater could see this and go, no, Michael, we are definitely not $30,000. But I don't know. But Googling it was roughly $30,000 for a night. So $60,000 that she rented out the Fox Theater with all the things that come with it. And she turned $1 million. And that was just Atlanta. She's got one in Dallas. She's got one in Melbourne. She's got one, she's got half a dozen, or I think a dozen places where she's touring. But it was only 3 years ago that she was lost. She was broken. She was discouraged. And this is somebody that has a college education. She was an attorney or a lawyer. Somebody that from the outside, like, got her shit together. Broken. So anyhow, what else should we talk about? Did any of these episodes resonate with you? If they did, send me a topic of what you want to hear more of. Hit the like, follow, or subscribe button so you can be notified when the next episode comes out.